Come into this sanctuary. Come into this sacred space. Come, you voyagers, you who find yourself on a journey of surprise and awe. So let's let go of those thoughts that tug at us and prevent us from being here in this moment. But keep your whole self, your sorrows and your pains, and your authentic presence. Bring your healthy ancestors and the wisdom that they etched in your dreams and your bones. Today is the shortest day of the year, and we're here to honor not only the return of the light, but also the fullness of the darkness. So welcome to our community of seekers and lovers of wisdom and warriors for justice. Welcome to our celebration of life.
Symbol of our faith and community, with the following words: Hymn to the Light by David Breeden of the First Unitarian Society of Minneapolis. Thank you. Our light is the light of the sun, keeper of all we love. Our light is the light of the earth, provider of sustenance. Our light is the light of all living things, life precious like our own. Our light is the light of each of us, bound together in need and hope. Our light is the light of the cosmos, keeper of all we know.
We build lights in the midst of darkness to show us a way forward, to remind us that we can survive another year. When I asked my 7-year-old daughter what she remembers about the story of Hanukkah, she asked, "Is they the right word? Is people the right word?" People thought they had enough oil for just one night, but it lasted for 8 nights. It lasted. That's the story that most of us know, but the story of Hanukkah from the book of Maccabees, that story is really of what happened before the miracle of the oil. At its core, Hanukkah is an observance that helps us remember we were part of a persecuted religious group that had to fight for the right to live and exist in our own home. Now, the book of Maccabees, the source of the observance of Hanukkah, isn't in the Hebrew Bible at all. It's from a different text, originally in Hebrew and written by a Jewish author in the 2nd century BCE. This is one of the reasons that Hanukkah is not considered a high holiday in Judaism. It's just a minor feast that was elevated in the U.S. largely because it happens to come around the same time of the year as Christmas. Some Jews are bothered by this association, while others appreciate the opportunity to publicly share their Judaism by performing the mitzvah, the good deed of lighting Hanukkah candles. Here's the story that we remember. The Syrian king Antiochus had sent out a decree that made being Jewish illegal. If Jews wanted to live, they would have to worship the Greek gods and give up their faith and their culture. Even though they were outnumbered, Judah and the Maccabees won 2 battles and took back their temple that had been desecrated. The miracle of the lights was added to the story more than 100 years later, but it makes sense. The perseverance of the light represents the perseverance of a people to survive and fight for the right to be Jewish and to practice their faith and their culture. Today, my friend Avi tours the country singing with his grandfather, who is a Holocaust survivor. Cantor David Wisnia tells the story of how he survived Nazi concentration camps by singing. His lovely voice was coveted by the SS guards, and he was spared time and time again when others were not. But it was not alone that he survived. His girlfriend, who was a prisoner with special status, was able to strike his name off lists 5 times to save his life. Each day alive in that place was a miracle. Now here in Philadelphia, we are supporting families in sanctuary in our very own community. Families that built a life for themselves, a career and a home. The government is telling them that they're the wrong kind of person, whatever that is. They do not belong in their home. And every month we gather. Every month, again, food is brought to Fumkag in Germantown. Families that are not able to leave the church spend all day cooking a feast for their neighbors. Neighbors who come to show these people that they can survive for one more day, one more month, while we fight for their freedom to be home. So what is Hanukkah? A miracle of lights? Sure. But also a miracle of the people. People is the right word. Because it's not just the Jewish people that have had to survive. Native Americans, Armenians, Palestinians, Muslim Uyghurs, the list goes on and on and on. The miracle, it's not really about the lights. The miracle is what we do that makes the light last as long as it needs to, so we can work for freedom for all of us.
I've got some movements, repetitive movements that we'll say with some words. We'll repeat them 3 times and then we'll try it without the words. So just follow me. May the solstice slow us down, give us rest, and let us grow. May the solstice slow us down, give us rest, let us grow. One more time, let's say it together with me. May the solstice slow us down, give us rest, and let us grow. This time without words. Thank you.
Our theme for December is awe. Last Sunday's service was all about the huge, amazing universe. Galaxies and planets, explosions of brilliant light, and ourselves literally made of stardust. So this week, let's talk about the tiny, amazing universe. All the processes that happen at the level of molecules and atoms that we're mostly not aware of, but absolutely dependent upon. They all take place in the dark, but we'll get to that in a minute. Does everybody know why we have solstices? Earth rotates around an axis that is 23.5 degrees, more or less, from perpendicular to Earth's orbit around the sun. So the Earth goes around the sun like that. This weekend is the winter solstice in the northern hemisphere where we are, because the North Pole is in its darkest dark. So we have our shortest day and our longest night. It's the summer solstice in Argentina and Australia on the other side of the planet, because the South Pole is in its brightest sunshine. Exactly 6 months from now will be the summer solstice for us. So, the angle of the axis is the reason for the season. On the summer solstice, most everyone celebrates the amazing abundance of light. It's widely regarded as a fire festival, a sun festival, a celebration of daylight. On the winter solstice, cultures and religions all around the globe have some kind of festival of lights to break up the dark or decorate it or give us something to look at while we're freezing. So that looks to me like light gets 2 holy days, one in December and the other in June, regardless of which hemisphere you're in, and dark gets none. Is that fair? Even in the service this morning, we've been singing and talking about the light, but what about the dark? Much of the amazing tiny universe is happening in the dark, inside our bodies, inside the bodies of animals and plants, under the soil, inside the body of the earth. The atoms of calcium that fit themselves together to make our bones in a molecular level process that even 21st century human scientists don't quite understand and can't quite control. The atoms of iron that fit themselves into hemoglobin, which fits itself into red blood cells inside the marrow of those bones. The atoms of oxygen in our breath that are carried by the hemoglobin to every part of this body. Our DNA that directs all these processes, a vast instruction manual so tiny that it fits inside every single cell of our bodies. But the dark isn't only responsible for tiny things. Seeds won't germinate without a period of darkness. Gardeners know that, right? Babies gestate in the dark. Kittens, puppies, everybody's babies. I wonder what else is hindered by too much light. Well, healing for one thing. Our skin and muscles can't knit together if held open. And sleep for another, night lights notwithstanding. It's hard to feel cozy under a brilliant sun, but cuddling under blankets with someone stroking your back to help you fall asleep, that happens in the dark. I should maybe mention that I know some of us can be afraid of the dark. I was afraid of the dark myself for about my first 40 years. But then I spent some time living outdoors far from city lights. I discovered that when I let my eyes get fully adapted, which takes about an hour, even starlight is enough to see my way in open country. And some things only come to my awareness when my vision takes a back seat. Darkness makes me move more slowly and pay closer attention to my other senses: hearing, smell, touch, taste, intuition, even a little clairvoyance. Darkness offers blessings: rest, meditation, dreaming, healing, and preparation. What are you dreaming up during this time of dark? What healing is going on inside you? What plans are beginning to surface? And so I offer you the lovely, loving, necessary dark. Blessed be.
Night walks with a heavy step, round yard and hearth, as the sun departs from earth. Shadows are brooding there in our dark house, walking with lit candles, Santa Lucia. Night walks grand, yet silent. Now hear its gentle wings in every room so hushed, whispering like wings. Look, at our threshold stands, white-clad with light in her hair, Santa Lucia. Darkness shall take flight soon from earth's valleys, so she speaks wonderful words to us. A new day will rise from the rosy sky, Santa Lucia. Here we sit at solstice, now known to happen around December 21st. But before the calendar change from Julian to Gregorian, solstice fell closer to December 13th. And December 13th is when Santa Lucia is celebrated. Her story began in the 3rd century CE when she was born to rich and noble parents in Syracuse, Sicily. At a young age, Lucia decided to dedicate her life to Christ, giving her dowry to the poor. Important to note is that this took place during a time when Christianity was not looked upon with favor. Lucia's father died when she was quite young, 5 years old, leaving her and her mother without a guardian. When Lucia's mother fell ill, she worried about her daughter's future. And not knowing about Lucia's plans for her own life, she promised Lucia to a man from a well-known pagan family. In hopes of a cure for her mother, Lucia convinced her to make a pilgrimage to the tomb of Saint Agatha. It was here that Lucia's mother was healed, and Lucia had a vision confirming her beliefs. Lucia went on to use her dowry to bring food and comfort to those persecuted for their beliefs. The stories tell us that she wore a wreath of candles upon her head to leave her hands free to carry food to those hiding in the catacombs of Rome. She was martyred in the early 4th century for her beliefs and actions. This came about after being reported to authorities by her betrothed, who was angry, possibly because she was not a pagan, possibly because she refused to marry, possibly because she no longer had her dowry. Lucia quickly became an icon in the Christian, more specifically Catholic religion, with churches dedicated to her as early as the 8th century. How the legend of Lucia came to Sweden isn't completely clear. There are many theories that include her story being brought by priests, German traders, or even by the Vikings from their adventures. There is even suspicion that she is honored in Sweden simply because her name means light, as derived from the Latin word lux. My favorite story of Lucia coming to Sweden is one of a ship appearing on Lake Vänern during a famine many years ago. It is said that the ship approached the shore carrying a woman at the helm dressed in white with a glow around her head. Food was delivered to the hungry from that ship, which quickly vanished from view. Having heard the story of Saint Lucia, the people of Sweden are said to have thought it was her coming to save them from the famine. It wasn't until the late 19th century that Santa Lucia was widely celebrated in Sweden. The celebrations take place in schools, businesses, churches, and homes as a start to the Christmas season. In the celebration, the eldest girl wears a gown of white and a crown of candles, carrying a tray of coffee and lussekatter. Lussekatter is a sweet bun that literally translates to saffron cat or light cat. Lucia is often accompanied by attendants, star boys, for UUs we're going to say star kids, who represent the North Star, and possibly a few Tomten. If I may digress for just a moment, it is also thought by some that Lucia is the Christianized version of the goddess Freya. As a goddess, she was associated with cats and light, among many other things. Freya was said to have ignited the northern lights when she took to the skies in her cat-drawn chariot. This is the only connection to the lussekatter I can see, those light cats, that makes sense. Some may say that they represent Lucia's eyes, which is a story I'll leave for your own research. But if that's the case, why name them cats? Coming back to today, this small celebration of Sancta Lucia is here for all of you to honor her light and her service. I invite you to enjoy some of our U.S. children as they make a Santa Lucia procession while we listen to the beautiful music of Mark and our choir. While you watch, think about the darkness that now surrounds you, giving us time to rest and restore our own lights. Think about how you can serve others when your light is restored and strong.
So if you didn't know, our choir is fluent in Swedish also, so they never cease to impress me. Our closing words are from Kathleen Matigue. May the light around us guide our footsteps and hold us fast to the best and most righteous that we seek. May the darkness around us nurture our dreams and give us rest so that we may give ourselves to the work of our world. Let us seek to remember the wholeness of our lives, the weaving of light and shadow in this great and astonishing dance in which we move.